Welcome to the Thrive on Plants podcast. I'm Dr. Daphne Bascom, and I'm excited you've joined us today. I have two amazing special guests with me, Leif Arnesen, who is our co-host for the podcast, and Erin Tomie, who is here as a special guest from our Vegan Superhero Academy. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. That's good to be here. So yeah, we've got, as Daphne said, we're going to be covering the 9 simple habits to lose weight easily without being hungry all the time. And weight loss is never easy, but our goal is to help you make it easier. I used to lose fat with just pure grit, and I feel like I have a pretty high degree of willpower, which is something that I've really worked to cultivate through my fitness journey and just life in general. But fat loss in the beginning, when I was first trying to understand how to change my body composition with nutrition and fitness, it was really challenging for me at the beginning. And I remember just feeling hungry all the time when I was trying to focus on fat loss. And I would just be constantly thinking about food. And I remember doing this at work in my old job. I would just constantly stare at the clock and just like will the clock to hit my certain eating time. And so in the morning, I would set the time in my mind and I'd say, okay, how far away can I push eating lunch? And what's that time going to be? And then I'd set that in stone and I'd hold myself to it. And then the minutes felt like hours as I got closer to that time. And then once it finally came, I would grab my food out of the kitchen, reheat it, and eat it. And then I'd be gone in 5 minutes and I'd be hungry again and counting down the minutes until dinner. I was always tired. I couldn't concentrate on anything because I was constantly thinking about food. And that is all that I wanted to do was eat. So I understand how hunger can feel like just this relentless itch that you can't actually scratch, especially when you are craving foods that you tell yourself you can't eat. So that's just kind of a little backstory to how I first felt when I was learning how to lose weight and do it in a sustainable way. And now it's certainly not easy to lose weight, but I have found a lot of things that have made it significantly easier. And I would like to share some of those lessons with you today, along with both of you. And Erin, I'd really love to hear your experience with weight loss and hunger.
Yeah, listening to you talk the intro, I could relate to so much of what you spoke about. And I was actually trying to think, it's hard for me to remember a time when I didn't have all of this food noise in my head. I think for so many years, I've just gotten used to thinking about food a lot, thinking about it during the day, especially when I've been in a lot of periods where I'm trying to lose weight on the scale or decrease my body fat percentage. Just constant food noise. And it's something that I would love a light switch for. I think I can't imagine what it would be like to just turn it off. And I actually got sick a few months ago with strep throat, and I wasn't hungry because of how it was affecting my body. And it was enlightening to have at least a day or two where I wasn't thinking about food quite a bit of the time. I think whenever I'm tracking and trying to really focus on losing weight, there's a lot of brain energy spent on, okay, when's my next meal? I'm looking at my food tracking app. Okay, like how can I move this around and eat this? And just a lot of energy spent on planning to eat instead of just living the rest of my day. And like you said, once you do eat, you inhale it so quickly sometimes that it's like, oh, well, when's the next meal? And you're like constantly counting down the minutes to the next meal. So I think I can certainly relate to a lot of what you spoke about in the intro. And just, I think there are a lot of people with this food noise that is really hard to turn off. And it's like this little goblin in your brain that you're arguing with all day, trying to focus on other things. And it just wants to, like the Cookie Monster, talk about food. So I'm excited to share a bit of tips and strategies to kind of quiet that food noise and how you can not spend all your time and energy thinking about food, and you can kind of free up your life a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So in this episode, we're going to be tackling hunger head on and talking about practical habits that will keep you satisfied and energized throughout the weight loss process. And I do want to note that it's healthy and natural to feel hungry a little bit when you're working to lose weight. And sometimes you'll feel more hunger than other times. That's totally normal. And it's not, you shouldn't expect to completely alleviate that, but we do want to avoid constant hunger and depriving ourselves of our favorite food. So how do we lessen the impact that hunger has on our life? How do we kind of break free from the food noise that Erin was talking about, and also ensure that we are not depriving ourselves of our favorite foods? That is how we can create a more sustainable approach to weight loss, and that is our goal. So let's jump in with the first simple habit, and that is walking for 30 minutes daily. I truly believe that walking is one of the most underrated activities for burning body fat. And so many people talk about cardio, go to the gym, hop on the Stairmaster or elliptical and just try to grind it out, burn as much as you can, sweat as much as you can, stare at the little calorie counter that they have on their machine and try to get that number to 200, 300, 400. And sure, yes, you can burn calories more quickly doing that. The more intense your activity is, generally speaking, the more calories you're going to burn. And that's totally true. But that doesn't mean that it's the best approach on, certainly not for the long term. Mm-hmm. And our goal is sustainability. So walking is easy to do anywhere. It's enjoyable, at least for most people, and you can do it outside in nature, which has a bunch of other benefits that we'll talk about shortly. And it's also much more sustainable than just hopping on a Stairmaster. I remember doing that when I was focused on weight loss, and I worked up to doing an hour on the Stairmaster at a pretty significant intensity level. And I would always dread that. It's bad enough feeling hungry and just counting down the minutes to your next meal. And then you also have, at the end of the day, I would do this in the evenings because if I did it first thing in the morning, I literally wouldn't have energy for the rest of the day. So I do it at the end of the day. I'd hop on the Stairmaster. I kind of started doing 30 minutes, and then I wanted to make things go faster and started doing 45 minutes, and then worked up to an hour. And sure, you burn a lot of calories, but I was exhausted. And I also really did not look forward to my evenings because I knew that I was going to be hopping on the Stairmaster. Between that and food, I was just constantly thinking about all of the terrible things that I need to do to achieve the body that I want to achieve. And that is no way to live. So a 30-minute walk is roughly 2,000 steps for the average person, and that can boost your daily calorie burn and supports your cardiovascular health, and it's just all around a good activity to do. You can certainly break this up into smaller chunks as well, so you don't need to do 30 minutes at one time. You can do 10, 10, 10, or whatever works with your schedule, but the goal is to just increase what is called your non-exercise activity. So it's not formal exercise like stepping on the Stairmaster, but I'm going and just trying to get more general activity, non-exercise activity, which could include cleaning around the house. It could include dancing to some music after dinner. It could be taking a stroll at the park. All of these things really add up. And it's not just good for your physical health. It's not just helpful for accelerating fat loss, but it's also really great for your mental health as well. So any thoughts that either of you want to add to that?
I think walking is definitely underrated. And in this day and age when many of us are working from home, an under desk treadmill, a walking pad is another way that you can sneak in those 30 minutes. And you don't necessarily have to go outside, but the best thing would be get outside in nature and use those 30 minutes, even if it's 10-minute breaks, to get some sunshine, walk with friends, and make it something enjoyable and sustainable.
Yeah, I love doing housework as my neat
You
for
love
the day.
doing housework.
Yeah, I can't relate to that.
Well, you sit for a 25-minute focus work period, and then I usually do a 5-minute break. And instead of sitting still at my desk, scrolling on my phone or just, housework, if I get up, okay, I can empty the dishwasher or fill the dishwasher or put something in the laundry. So then I also feel good because I feel like I'm being productive of this long mental task list of things I need to do around the house. So even breaking it up into little periods where you're just stand up and like shake around, do a little dance, and just getting up out of your desk chair if you're seated all day.
Yeah, that's an important point. And this actually isn't part of the habits that I wrote up for notes, but I mentioned earlier the fact that I went from 30 minutes a day with the Stairmaster up to 45, up to 60, because it started accelerating my progress and I started losing fat more quickly. And I completely understand the temptation of wanting things to go faster, of wanting to see progress faster, of wanting to burn body fat faster. And I have been there. I've done that. And I totally understand. And there can be a time and place for that if you know what you're doing and you are really locked in with your nutrition and training and all of that. Specifically, we're maybe like competitors and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of a side discussion. I think for the vast majority of people, most of the time, you are going to really want to prioritize sustainability over accelerated results. So my goal now, whenever I work to lose body fat, is not to lose it as quickly as possible. It's to lose it as easily and sustainable as possible in a way that is not going to set me up for any kind of roller coaster yo-yo progress. So I think that's really important to keep in mind as well, is to really prioritize sustainability. And I think actually if there was one habit that I would add to this, it would just be, I guess it's not exactly a habit, but focusing on sustainability is really important. Okay, habit number 2 is build your plate around protein. And I would recommend generally aiming for at least 20 grams of protein per meal. And you should be building your plate around a high quality plant protein source. We will have another protein episode and go into that in a lot more detail, but there are some more high quality plant proteins, which just mean that they're more digestible and more usable by your body, and then some lower quality proteins as well. And all protein is beneficial and will add up, and your body can make use of the amino acids from all these different protein sources, but some are more preferable. And the reason that this is important is because protein stabilizes your blood sugar. It also helps you maintain your lean muscle mass, which is critically important. We want to focus on losing body fat, not just losing weight. And too many people, too often, myself included, a long time ago, focus on how can I just see the number on the scale go down, when your actual goal should be how am I losing body fat. Do you have any comments that you want to add to that, Daphne?
I would 100% agree, especially for women, which is another reason why we encourage understanding your body composition, because the scale number doesn't tell you what your body mass is made out of. And you want as much muscle as you can, and you want to hang on to that as long as you can.
So 20 grams per meal is a reliable target, and this can help you to stave off hunger. It can also help support the maintenance of lean muscle mass while you are focusing on burning body fat. If you put your body into a calorie deficit, if you are burning more calories than you consume every day, that is how, at a kind of fundamental level, that is how you lose weight. But we want to focus on losing body fat while maintaining all of our lean muscle. So a good way of ensuring that happens is by maintaining a high protein intake. If you would like to, most women should consume between 80 and 120 grams of protein per day. Typically, clients in our program will be on kind of on the higher end of that. And if you would like to calculate your ideal nutrition targets, you can head to our website, thevegangym.com/calculator, to use our free vegan nutrition calculator, which just got a big upgrade. We went through and rebuilt the whole thing and added another handful of nutrients. So it not only tells you how much protein, but it gives you calories. It breaks out how much carbohydrates you should be eating, how much dietary fat you should be eating, and also a bunch of important essential vitamins and minerals. So let's talk about some good high quality protein sources. We've got tofu and tempeh. I'm definitely team tofu. I think both of you are as well.
Yeah.
Tempeh it's okay, but it's definitely not my thing. Then we also have a lot of beans are generally good. So kidney beans, black beans, pinto beans. Edamame pasta, which is edamame is obviously a soy product, but edamame pasta, there's a company called Explore Cuisine that has some really great high protein plant pastas. I highly recommend that. That's something I've used a lot, and I think both of have you used that? Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good.
Really any kind of lentil or legume based pastas. Lupini beans is kind of a new one that I've been eating of more recently, and I really love lupini beans. So there are actually these snack packs that you can get from Brahmi. So there are these Brahmi lupini beans, and I think they're great. You can put them on salads or just eat them as a snack. we're all about to travel actually, and I will be bringing some of those Brahmi snacks on the plane. And speaking of snacks, we also have pistachios, which are the highest quality protein nuts. And I also really love them. I don't know, do both of you enjoy pistachios?
Too much.
Yeah. Pistachios are great. And they also, I forget the name of the company, but the like main pistachio company, at least here in the US, they have all these different flavors that are delicious.
You need to buy them with the shell on, or it's game over.
That takes too long. Which is another problem. But I'll do the unshelled ones and just do that by the handful, which is a ton of calories. So keep that in mind. And then oats with plant protein powder. It's some people call it protein oatmeal, and that's something that I use all the time. That's pretty much my go-to snack when I'm working to lose body fat. My go-to breakfast when I'm working to lose body fat. What are some of your go-to meals, Daphne?
I am definitely team tofu. What I prefer to do is on the weekend, I meal prep. So I'll make a protein, usually tofu, either as standalone or as a curry or something that's really tasty. I always have black beans and chickpeas in the refrigerator because I like to make bowls. So having core staples like your tofu, your black beans, your chickpeas, some type of grain, whether it's a quinoa or some rice, then you can mix and match throughout the week and just throw a dressing on top and you're done.
What about you? Any other go-to meals that you would like to share?
Yeah, one thing you mentioned lentil pasta, but even just lentils on their own. Recently, I've started eating a lot of black lentils. Mm-hmm. I'll make them in a rice cooker, actually. You can use an Instant Pot as well, but if you don't have one, a rice cooker works. I've never really had black lentils. I grew up eating green lentils all the time, but black is just maybe the novelty of trying something new. But tons of veggie bowls lately with broccoli and cauliflower, and then a whole bunch of black lentils and some sauerkraut, side of hummus, just like a really fresh health. Makes me feel extremely healthy after I finish eating it.
Yeah, I think black lentils are definitely superior.
Beluga lentils are great.
Yeah. All right. Simple habit number 3 is veggies first and hydration. So veggies first means you should fill your plate with non-starchy vegetables. I like to aim for half of my plate. So roughly speaking, about half of my plate would be non-starchy vegetables. A quarter of my plate would be some kind of main protein source. And then maybe a quarter of my plate would be some other more starchy vegetable, maybe like some sweet potatoes or maybe a little rice or something like that. So kind of half my plate is going to be primarily just vegetables. And that's because eating vegetables is going to help fill you up with fiber and nutrients, and you are going to naturally eat less of the heavier stuff. And I think that taming your hunger a little bit before eating the tastier part of your meal, or what I will define as the tastier part of my meal. I love vegetables as much as any good vegan does, but I also prefer other things more than vegetables. And so if you start taming your hunger a little bit with those vegetables, get in a lot of volume for a few calories, then you can start slowing down a little bit more and not feeling so ravenous as you're eating what I would consider to be the more enjoyable part of my meal. And that's how I always do it, and I really enjoy that. Now, I know, Erin, you eat some massive amounts of salad, so I know you've been really working on the kind of veggies first parts. Any tips that you want to add to help women?
Yeah, it sounds really cliche to, I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm going to eat salad, but I love salad. And a salad doesn't just mean a bowl of lettuce with some dressing on it. Like I like I don't know, I like feeling full, and I find if I can eat a massive salad, I can also get a lot of nutrition in. So I'll have a lettuce mix, I'll throw on some shredded carrots, if there's chopped cabbage around, red bell peppers for that nice crunch. And usually I have some prepped tofu salad type mixture that I'll also throw on top of the salad. So it's not just straight vegetables. I'm putting in some protein and some fats. I'm not a huge lupini bean fan, but I've found these fava bean crunchy snacks. I'll throw those on the salads and then just mix it all together, throw a little bit of a salt-free spice mix on top. And I think you can make salads really fun and interesting, that they don't need to be something that you consider boring or, I just have another salad to eat today. But it's a really easy way to pack a whole bunch of nutrition in while still eating something that's going to make you feel full, because it is a lot of volume, without using, if you're tracking your macros, you're not going to use too many of your macros on such a bulky meal because you just have so many great veggies in there.
Yeah. And then also drinking some water before you eat. Drinking a full glass of water before each meal can help to promote satiety and help you avoid mistaking thirst for hunger. And I have found it to be a really great practice. Just that is the ultimate low calorie, fill your stomach food because it's 0 calories. So that's another tip that I use. If you get a bunch of veggies in your stomach and have some water, then that can go a long way to starting to tame your hunger, at least lessen it, so that you can slow down and enjoy the other parts of your meal. Anything that you'd like to add there, Daphne?
No, that I 100% agree with that approach.
All right. Habit number 4, time-restricted eating and shorter eating windows. Now, the reason that this can help, so to be clear, any kind of time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting does not inherently accelerate fat loss. That is just not true. There are, generally speaking, eating earlier in the day does have a very minimal impact on allowing you to burn more calories, but we're talking about like 50 calories here. It's not something that's going to seriously move the needle, and that's dependent on a host of different factors. But what is most important, the actual benefit to intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating, is by creating an eating window, an eating schedule that helps you to maintain your diet and help you to make your specific eating plan more sustainable for you. So for me personally, I prefer to push my first meal later in the day because I really can't stand going to bed hungry. That's the kind of ultimate hardship in my opinion for maintaining weight loss. And for the record, I kind of use weight loss and fat loss interchangeably, but I'm really referring to fat loss. I use weight loss because most other people, that's the more common phrase in the fitness world. So I've just kind of grown to use those interchangeably. But whenever I'm saying lose weight, I'm specifically talking about fat loss, just to make that clear. But I like pushing my first meal later in the day. That helps me to ensure that I'm not going to bed feeling hungry. And this also works well for me doing early morning workouts. I know I mentioned doing the Stairmaster in the evenings, but for resistance training, I have always felt best doing that first thing in the morning. And that's something that I continue doing to this day. So that when I do an early morning workouts, exercise can help me to delay hunger. I don't really get hungry in the mornings when I work out, and not for maybe an hour or maybe even 2 hours after I work out. So that can help as well. So yeah, do either of you have thoughts on the strategies that have worked for you regarding time restricted eating?
Yeah, I can share. I also prefer to do my resistance training or any kind of running workout in the morning. I will have a small protein bar, about 100 calories, that's got some protein, some carbs, a little bit of fat. So I don't do my workouts completely fasted. I will have a little bit to eat. And then, yeah, during the workout, obviously, I'm not having any huge meal intra workout. And then afterward, there'll be a bit of 30 minutes, an hour, and then I'll kind of start my first meal of the day. And I've also recently started trying to finish eating before 6 in the evening. And because the window is shorter, it also means I'm able to eat more frequently with fewer hours between meals. So before, if I'm eating breakfast at 7 or 8 a.m. when I first get up and I'm eating dinner at 7 p.m., it's like can be 3 or 4 hours between meals. And when you have that food noise in your head of like, okay, when's my next meal? And then you're checking the clock or watching the clock, like you mentioned at the beginning, those 3 hours can feel like forever if all you can think about is your next meal and when you're going to get to eat next. So creating that shorter window by working out when you're naturally not going to feel like eating, trying to finish before bed, you're going to sleep better as well if you have a bit of a break before you're trying to fall asleep. And I find that if I'm only waiting, 2 or 2.5 hours between those meals and snacks, I'm able to deal with that hunger noise a lot more easily than if I'm making myself wait long periods between meals.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. You have anything to add?
The reality is that most of us do a little bit of time restricted eating because, well, I shouldn't say that. In America, it's harder because I think we tend to snack late. But if you stopped eating at 8 and you didn't eat again until 6 or 7, you've got a pretty good window for time restricted eating. But I'm similar to both of you in that I've been doing a form of time restricted eating for years. I train fasted, which I know plus or minus it works for me and it works well. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I generally break my fast. So I'll drink water after my workout, break my fast with my matcha and my kimchi around 10ish. And then I also have found with the help of my Whoop that I sleep much better when I'm not sleeping on a full stomach. So 6ish, I try and make my cutoff because I just feel better the next day. But between those hours, I'm still able to get all the calories I need, get all the protein I need. I'm not restricting because of the window. I'm still eating to meet my goals. I'm just doing it in a shorter period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel better when if I push my first meal of the day to 12 p.m. and technically speaking, as Erin kind of touched on, even eating 100 calories technically means that you are not training fasted. So technically I don't train fasted either because I have a protein shake, but it's literally just a scoop of protein in water. That's what I would have, and works for me. I know some people might think that's a little gross, but that's what I do. And that allows me to get some protein to my system to help ensure people put way too much weight on the importance of protein timing around workouts. It really doesn't matter that much, but there is some advantage to consuming protein within an hour or two of your workouts. It's not something you need to really worry about, but it is beneficial. So that's something, especially as you get to a lower body fat percentage, your body is more likely at a lower body fat percentage to start burning some of your muscle for energy. So that some of those protein timing strategies can become a little more important as you get to low body fat percentages. But for most people, that isn't an issue. And so yeah, technically I don't really train fasted because I have a protein shake, but then I try to push my first meal of the day to 12 or 1 p.m. sometime early afternoon, and then I eat for a solid 5 hours or so. And that's not something that I typically do, but when I'm working to lose weight, then I have something to look forward to. I kind of consolidate my hunger into the early part of the day. So I wake up and I might feel a little hungry, but I have that protein shake and I'm working out, and working out, at least for me, curbs my hunger. So that allows me to get another couple extra hours not feeling too hungry. And then maybe from 8 or 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., I might feel relatively hungry, and the hunger will likely become more as I get closer to noon. But then I know that I have my first meal of the day. I can jump in and start eating, and then I have 3 meals within a 5-hour period, and I might not necessarily be going to bed feeling totally full or stuffed, certainly, but I don't feel hungry, and that is important for me. And we're kind of dancing around another habit that I want to bring up, which is finishing your last meal early, if it works for you. And the main reason to do that, specifically stopping eating around 5 p.m. or at least a few hours before your bedtime, so that is dependent on when you go to bed, but that helps to improve digestion. It helps you to improve your recovery overnight, which is critically important when you are working to lose body fat. It's more difficult for your body to recover in a calorie deficit. And this also helps you to improve your sleep, which is the king of recovery. So if you are not sleeping well, it is way more challenging to lose weight, both from a kind of metabolic perspective, but also, in my opinion, more importantly, from a just mindset perspective. If you are hungry all the time, then you are way more likely to have cravings. You're just awake for more hours of the day, so there are more periods where you're thinking about food and awake, thinking about your next meal. And it's just way more challenging to make healthy, nutritious choices and maintain a lean weight if you're constantly sleep deprived. So I know you have a lot of thoughts about sleep. Would you like to add something there?
I agree with you 100% and I was thinking back on when I was competing regularly, the food noise was always there at bedtime. It was, during a competition phase when you're significantly calorie restricted, you're doing evening cardio, and you're going to bed hungry. That's the worst feeling. But at the same time, I know that from just a general health perspective, stopping eating early is good. And I know there are a lot of women who struggle with that, mainly from family perspective, work perspective, but try and balance your bedtime with your last meal time. And I think you'll learn that you can sleep better. The drivers for you wanting to make bad decisions about what you're putting in your body increase when you're not well slept. So again, looking at your leptin, looking at your ghrelin, what's happening when you're underslept and under-recovered, it's a real hormonal challenge, in addition to the fact that your body's under stress because you're trying to lose fat, and you just don't want to compromise yourself that way. So getting your sleep, making sure you're trying to not eat too close to your bedtime, they can all align with your goals, but know that sleep is so important to making sure your cortisol's normal, making sure your leptin's normal, making sure your ghrelin's normal, and that you're giving your body the time it needs to recover.
Yeah, if you can stop eating at least 2 hours, preferably 3 hours before you go to bed, and stop looking at screens at least an hour before you go to bed, I know that is challenging. But if you can hold yourself to that, it's going to make a big difference in your quality of sleep and also your quantity of sleep. Mm-hmm. And that is going to have an enormous benefit on your overall health. And especially given the topic of our conversation today, it's going to have a huge impact on your success with losing weight and maintaining that weight loss. Do you have any thoughts to add, Erin?
Yeah, I would just say, I don't know if this is a me thing or if it's common with other people, and it's been a really long time since I've been hungover from drinking alcohol, which I think we may be talking about later as well. But when I've been hungover the next day, it's like I wake up and I can feel my body angry with me for drinking, that when it's, over drinking, and making myself feel sick. I have a headache, and a lot of times I can almost feel my heart pumping, like it's trying to process all of the alcohol, whether that is scientifically accurate or not. That's what it feels like. And I've realized that anytime I've eaten really late, especially if I'm overeating, I'll wake up and have very similar physical feelings. It's like I'm hungover from eating so late, and my body, instead of spending all night helping me recover, it was, trying to deal with the alcohol that was in my system. It was trying to process, or it was trying to deal with all this food that I ate late at night, instead of repairing my muscles and helping me recover and feel great the next day. So it just, eating really late at night, I think, can really detract from a lot of the positive habits you can have during the day.
Well, that does transition well to another habit that I wanted to talk about. We've been going a little out of order now because I'm trying to transition well. So this is, I think it's number 6, 5 or 6. I don't know. It's listed as number 6 on my notes, but I'm not sure if we're actually there right now. I'm trying to transition well. So that's what we got. All right. So number whatever is don't drink your calories. And this certainly includes alcohol, which has quite a few calories. So alcohol contains empty calories. It disrupts your sleep. It can increase your cravings. There are no redeeming qualities of alcohol. And I'll turn it over to you, Daphne, to share your assessment.
This is my personal assessment. There's no safe lower limit for consuming alcohol. I mean, yes, alcohol has been used as part of traditional ceremonies for centuries. And maybe when, we're talking about some of the red wine and some of the things that may be in there as potentially beneficial to health. But in general, my personal feeling is that there's no limit of alcohol, lower limit, that people should be consuming. And so I encourage people to stop drinking whenever possible, especially women, because it also can add to your risk of breast cancer.
Yeah, I actually spoke with Dr. Greger about resveratrol in red wine, and that is the substance that people point to say that it has some potential health benefits. The science just isn't there. It is
the
not.
winemakers.
Yeah, I think
Good
funded
marketing.
by big wine.
Funded by big wine.
That's what any kind of dubious science that exists is likely sourced from. But yeah, there's no, as Daphne said, there's no kind of safe upper limit or safe, what do you say? Safe
Lower limit?
There's no safe lower limit for alcohol consumption. And that, it's just, there's nothing good about it. So if you're having a sip of red wine with communion or some other kind of religious practice, totally okay. But there's no reason to be drinking glasses of wine or having bottles of beer or whatever it is. And that is certainly not helpful. And if you have the option of having some fruit juice, that's better in my opinion. But still not great because it contains calories and not super helpful for weight loss either, which gets us to, just in general, not drinking your calories. If you are drinking calories, that's going to make weight loss so much more challenging. I'm sure that it is an amazing amount of the sugar that we consume in this country is done in liquid form with sugary drinks, sodas, etc. And that is not at all helpful for weight loss. It's not even going to make you feel full in any way. It's not going to satiate you. It doesn't have any fiber. It doesn't have any other nutrition. And if you're drinking a smoothie, that's one thing. And if it's a more low-calorie smoothie with low-calorie fruit and veggies, then that's one thing. And that can be something something healthful to sip on throughout the day that can also align with your weight loss goals. But I know, Erin, you are not a fan of drinking calories, so you want to share a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know that smoothies are often a staple in people's diets, and obviously they can be very nutritious, but I just never feel full when I'm drinking them. So to me, it's okay, 200-300 calories on something that's not making me feel full at all. And if the goal is to have a really nutritious day of eating, like they can really be worked in there. But if I'm really focused on weight loss goals and also bringing down the volume on the food noise, I want to be eating things that are actually making me feel like I'm eating. And when I'm drinking stuff, I don't drink coffee. That's not something that I have every day, but I know a lot of people, if you're drinking coffee and adding a creamer, a non-dairy creamer, or you're adding sugar into it, that can add up pretty quickly. And it can't just be something, it's coffee doesn't count. Coffee doesn't count in my calories for the day. And those things add up. So yeah, I have a couple favorite 0-calorie sodas that are sweetened with stevia, water that's, there might be some low calorie, 0-calorie flavors, or if I'm having electrolytes for the day to match with my workout. I try to eat almost all of my actual calories because it just feeling full, bringing down that food noise volume. I find that just drinking calories never really makes me feel full.
Yeah, so you mentioned carbonated stevia sweetened beverages. Zevia is a really great option. That's something that I think tastes really good, and I enjoy drinking that, and that's especially helpful when I am losing fat and working on that because it helps to kind of satisfy a craving, at least for me. It has some taste that I'm looking for without the extra sugar and calories. So have you ever had Zevia?
I think I may have had it at a retreat, but I don't normally buy any carbonated waters. I love carbonated water, but generally I'll just drink filtered water, tea. That's about it. Yeah.
Well, that should serve as the bulk of what liquids you're consuming. So yeah, water, tea, black coffee. If you want to throw in some low calorie or no calorie beverages that are not sweetened with any kind of terrible artificial sweeteners like aspartame, then go ahead and do that. That's another important thing to keep in mind, is that lots of diet foods, just are a bunch of chemicals in a bottle or in a box, and that you really should be paying attention to the quality of your nutrition as well. It's not just how can I lose weight, it's how can I do it in a sustainable and healthful way. So I would really always opt for doing it more slowly and doing it in a more healthy way. And that is just going to be inherently more sustainable and better for you. All right, next habit is not depriving yourself, but be calorie aware. So we're talking about moderation over restriction. I am such a big proponent of enjoying some vegan pizza, some chocolate, some non-dairy ice cream in controlled portions to help prevent from feeling deprived. This is critical, in my opinion, for sustainability. I think just labeling foods as off limits really leads to binging. It leads to a lot of food guilt. Instead, we want to be mindful of portion sizes, and we can make some really healthy versions of these. I wouldn't necessarily advocate for having some non-dairy cookie dough ice cream from Ben & Jerry's. You can do that, and you can fit it into a weight loss plan, and you could do that in a way that's aligned with your goals, but your portion size is going to be really small, and it does pack a lot of calories. So as just some examples, for ice cream, which is something that I really enjoy, you can easily make some homemade nice cream, because it's nice to the animals, with frozen mango. I love using frozen mango as a base. You can also use banana as well, but I actually prefer frozen mango. It's something that I've been doing for years now. You just have some frozen mango, a scoop of peanut butter protein powder, or whatever flavor you prefer. I just really like mango and peanut butter. I know it sounds weird. Have you ever had mango and peanut butter as a combination? It's definitely, it's really good. And maybe that's just me, but I really enjoy that. And then you just add some soy milk. So frozen mango, a scoop of peanut butter protein powder, and some vanilla soy milk. And you can make a really great homemade ice cream in a blender. And it's a nice, sweet frozen treat at the end of the day. And it's also lower in calories, way higher in protein, and just overall better for you. For pizza, when I make pizza, especially when I'm focusing on fat loss, I will use a thin crust for the pizza crust. So we don't want to add a ton of extra calories with some thick dough, although I think most people enjoy that, or at least I do. So I'd use a thin crust. I'd use lots of veggies on the top, just a red sauce. We're not using oil. Avoid oil in the sauce. There are lots of tomato sauces that contain oil, lots of pasta sauces as well that contain oil. So we ideally are skipping that, because oil is the most calorie dense food on the planet. And that is, I wrote a book on fat loss, and I talk about this concept of hitting calories. And the number one source of hitting calories are cooking oils. So this is especially true if you go out to eat at a restaurant. Most of the time, if you just go to any average restaurant in the US at least, or most parts of the world, but I'll specifically talk about the US, it's just going to be loaded with oil, because that makes it easier to cook. That makes it taste better. Everything from the restaurant's perspective is better when they use oil, and that's not true from your health perspective, and certainly not from a weight loss perspective. So keep that in mind. So we got thin crust, lots of veggies, no oil in the sauce, and we're also using high protein TVP crumbles. We're using some seitan chunks on top. We're using some kind of maybe tofu crumbles, some kind of higher protein source that we can put on the top of the pizza. So we've got lots of veggies, we have some good protein, and then we have fairly minimal extra calories in the form of the thin crust and sauce. So that's an example of how I would make a pizza more weight loss friendly and also healthier just in general. We can apply the same concept to pasta. You can use a chickpea pasta, any kind of legume-based pasta. There's lentil pasta, chickpea pasta, etc. And then I would have a large salad on side. As I just touched on, a red sauce, no oil. I'd focus on eating the salad first and then enjoying the chickpea pasta. I'm avoiding adding any kind of high fat foods because anything that is high in dietary fats, avocados would be an example. And that doesn't mean that you can't have avocados or you can't have nuts and seeds, but just understand that those have a higher calorie density, and calorie density matters a lot when we're talking about fat loss. So imagine a pound of, let's say, lettuce. It would be, I don't actually know the exact amount of calories, but let's call it maybe 50 calories in about a pound of lettuce versus 50 calories of nuts that's going to be like 3 walnut halves. So that just gives you an example of the power of calorie density. And it really comes back to just focusing on low calorie vegetables and fruits. So those are just some examples of how I would not deprive myself, but also I'm being calorie aware. So, and as I said earlier, you could have the non-dairy Ben & Jerry's cookie dough ice cream, which is one of my personal favorites. It tastes super good, but I'd rather have 3 times the amount of ice cream by making it myself at home, making a healthier version that's way lower in fat and higher in protein and just more volume for fewer calories, but still scratches that same craving itch that I have for something cold and sweet. Do either of you have other kind of examples of that or any other thoughts about not depriving yourself?
I think you touched on the key messages because, and talking about what Erin mentioned around food noise, when you get into a deprivation binge cycle, that's hard. So you're better off eating what you love, but eating it in a state of awareness than saying, I can never have it. And all you're thinking about, oh, I just want one. Oh, if I can have one. Oh, maybe I'll go get one. And the next thing you know, you're eating 10. So understanding that you can fit just about anything into a macro goal, but life is too short not to enjoy living, and just find ways to enjoy what you can, but do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, there's a difference between enjoying a slice of cake at a birthday party or going out to a special dinner with your spouse. There's a difference between doing that occasionally and having that be a really normal thing that you do frequently. And the same thing can happen within each of your meals.
Yeah, and I would just say that you can go out and have that meal. I think a lot of times people think of birthday dinners or special occasions that it's always going to be this huge blowout of, oh, it's a holiday, so I can eat all of this food and, it's like a day off. But you can also have those occasions and eat a normal amount of food, but it's just become so perpetuated that if it's a holiday, like, oh, we're all going to eat so much food, we feel stuffed and we feel sick the next day, and it's like everyone's doing it. So I think you can also have those special occasions and make them feel special without also making yourself feel unwell. And you can, make good choices at the restaurant to, take out, sometimes ask if, they can not cook with, if it's you're having veggies with your meal. Oh, can you not use oil with it? So there's little things where you can go out and enjoy yourself. It doesn't have to be, always a cheat day. Yeah. So then you can do those things without completely, sending yourself off the rails with your goals.
It's absolutely fine to enjoy a slice of cake at a birthday party or go out for a special dinner with your spouse. The point isn't about stressing about these occasional moments. It's about making sure that they don't become a daily or weekly habit. We don't want that to become the default. We don't want to think, hey, I was so good from Monday to Friday, and now it's the weekend and I can enjoy myself and then I'll get back on track on Monday. The reality is that a single day of going overboard, whether it's a massive restaurant feast or all day snacking or you're binging on high calorie treats, any of those could actually undo an entire week's worth of disciplined eating and exercise. And for me, that's definitely not worth it. I know how hard it is to show up every single day and put in the effort and follow your nutrition plan, follow the plan with your training. And then the idea of erasing that in a single day or afternoon or weekend is not the place that I want to be. And that may not negate every positive habit that you've built if you find yourself in a cycle like that, but it can set you back enough to notice on the scale, notice in your energy levels, and that's not the place where you want to be. So the goal isn't to live in fear of the occasional indulgence, but we do want to recognize that moderation is key, and consistently eating in a way that supports your goals makes those rare treats all the more enjoyable and way less likely to derail your progress in any way. So figuring out how we can strike a balance between enjoying these foods in moderation and feeling really good along our weight loss path, and also not going overboard and not thinking that because I ate one cookie, I should now just say, might as well eat all 10 in this package. It's not going overboard with saying I was so good this week and now I'm going to just let loose this weekend, because that really will keep you trapped in a vicious cycle of this roller coaster progress. All right, next habit would be train with resistance at least 3 times per week. So Daphne, I'd love to hear, what are some benefits of resistance training for women who are working to lose weight?
I like to say that muscle is magical, for many reasons. I think some of the top reasons why it's important for women to resistance train are: 1, muscle is your metabolic engine, meaning that muscle is metabolically active. It's the most metabolically active tissue. So the more lean muscle you're carrying, the higher your metabolic engine is running, which means in theory that you can eat more calories. And it allows you to, supporting that higher resting metabolic rate will help align with your fat loss goals. So muscle is very important for that reason. It's also, people don't think about muscle as an endocrine organ, but muscle secretes a lot of hormones, and they help your brain, they help your bones, and knowing that you have a healthy amount of muscle mass is supporting your whole hormonal balance. And even things like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is one reason why I like to encourage, when you move and you're releasing this hormone, it's going to your brain and also helping your brain. So the more muscle you have, the more you can bolster that part of your endocrine system. Muscle is also very important for your bone health. So I think about muscle and bone together, because the more you can use your musculoskeletal system as part of a resistance training strategy, whether it's body weight or in the gym, you're growing your muscle, you're putting stress on your bone, and that can help maintain your bone health over time. The last reason I think muscle is important is none of us want to be frail when we're 90 years old. And frailty is one of the things that can put us in the hospital unintentionally. Frailty is one of the things that can put us in the hospital due to a fall as we grow older. And being able to have that muscle and have muscle be you may hear the term your organ of longevity. It is so important. So that's why I encourage every woman, no matter whether you're starting at 35 or whether you're starting at 75, you need to be incorporating some form of resistance training into what you do every week.
And what would you say to somebody who is concerned about getting bulky by lifting weights?
I wish. I've been trying to get bulky for almost 20 years. As long as you are training naturally, women do not produce enough testosterone to get bulky. So Erin and I are not going to look like you if we go to the gym every day. We're just not going to get that big muscle, but we'll get toned muscle and we'll get strong muscle. And that's the goal. Not that we don't want to look like you, but we won't have your physique. Let me put it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's really important to emphasize that it's not similar to your food choices. It's not you either do nothing or you do everything. So there's this, I think with both food and training, there's this idea that I need to either I'm 100% on top of my diet and I'm doing everything perfectly right, or it's a free for all and I'm eating whatever I want and I failed at my diet and I'm going to restart on Monday or restart in January or whatever it is. And there's a similar idea, I think, in fitness where they say, oh, well, I don't have 10 hours a week to go train 2 hours a day, 5 days a week and do everything perfectly the way I saw this person on Instagram doing it. So I might as well not train. You can get a lot done in short workouts if you have 20 to 30 minutes 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. And frankly, everyone has that amount of time that your health is worth it. Your body is worth investing in, and taking an hour and a half a week to do 3 30-minute workouts can be hugely beneficial in starting to see some body composition progress, and also start building strength and improving the host of health markers that you just mentioned. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on quick workouts and what does resistance training really mean to you?
Leif, those are good questions. The first thing is that if you have 5 minutes, we can tell you how to resistance train, because you can do a Tabata circuit in 4 minutes. Resistance training, to me, if you can use your body weight as the ultimate resistance tool. It's very easy. You know, a good coach, and our coaches are top notch, can give you a body weight resistance training program that will make you exhausted. Not that that's the goal, but the point is that you don't need a fancy gym. You don't need lots of equipment. If you can do squats, if you can do push-ups from any form, full push-ups or knee push-ups, if you can do a plank, we can provide you with a workout that will work your major muscle groups. So starting with your body weight, that's one form of resistance training. And then you can build from there. You could add bands, you could add dumbbells. If you're comfortable going to the gym, of course, there's a whole host of toys that you can use at the gym, but don't let that be the barrier. And the same goes with time. Again, going back to, Tabata is a form of circuit training where you do 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for about 4 minutes at a time. So if you have 10 minutes a day and you can string together 3 10-minute workouts, that's better than doing nothing. There's no perfection. I'd rather you carve out a little bit of time and invest in yourself than carve out no time at all.
Yeah, when you first became a client, that was, I guess, during COVID, really. And you were not training in a gym. You were using sandbags. Mm-hmm. So you want to share a little bit about your experience of training in your apartment with sandbags?
Yeah, COVID was an interesting time because before then I had just moved to a new city and I had joined a gym, but I hadn't really found a new routine. And then lockdown happened and I was trapped in this apartment in a city I didn't know anyone. And yeah, when I joined VSA, we had a conversation on, okay, can you go to a gym? I'm not really comfortable right now going to a gym. Okay, well, you could use bands, but if you're willing to invest a bit more in some sandbags, you could push a lot more weight. And I got sandbags whole bunch, like up to 50 pounds, and then you can kind of combine them. And so you're holding this huge sandbag in the middle of this apartment and doing lunges and squats, and you can get really creative. And even something like, oh, okay, I need something light, but I don't have a sandbag for it. Okay, I'll grab some cans of
Soup
beans.
cans.
Soup cans. So, and I also just want to say one thing is how empowering resistance training can be. So, especially if you're just getting started, seeing a little increase in weight or getting one more rep, that can just boost your confidence so much. And I think having that confidence in yourself to accomplish those little things can just really help with your mindset as you're going through that weight loss goal that some days it feels impossible. But if you're having those little wins in the gym or at home with the resistance bands or however you're able to work out, those wins can all kind of accumulate and increase that confidence in yourself to achieve your goals. That, okay, I did these hard things in the gym. Now I'm going to eat, really nutritious meals so that I can then fuel that next workout. And it's kind of this happy cycle that you're feeding and making yourself feel really good.
Erin, those are great points. I think the confidence you gain from strength training can't be underestimated. And it's another metric other than the scale that people can use to say, I'm getting stronger, I'm making progress. The scale is not the only arbiter of your success. And whether it's sandbags, whether it's soup cans, whether it's a backpack, whether it's a weighted vest, these are all things that you can do in the privacy of your apartment. You can put them on to go for a walk. You can have a portable gym. And if you can do it with other people, it's all the better. But I think what you did during lockdown is a good demonstration that there are no barriers to gaining that strength and gaining that confidence. It's only your mindset that limits what you can do. Now, I know a lot of people get stuck and they don't know where to start. And so, one of the things that we were doing in our Thriving on Plants community is we want to give you the tools that you need to understand, if I don't even know how to get started, how do I put together a weight training program? So I would encourage you to go to Thrive on Plants, and the link will be in the show notes, but there we'll be able to provide for you a free beginner resistance training plan. Now, I don't know all of you, so you definitely want to make sure that you're doing this safely and that you're executing all of the exercises with good form, because form is first. Don't try and pick up 30-pound dumbbell and think you can do curls. I'd rather you pick up an 8-pound dumbbell and do it with good form and make sure that you're doing everything correctly and safely. But we're happy to provide these kind of tools because we feel so strongly that resistance training is important for every woman.
Yeah, and speaking of like using soup cans and COVID, that actually reminded me when COVID first happened and all the gyms closed down, and I was just really dialed in with my training at that point, and I wanted to keep working out. So I got a backpack. I just loaded it up with a bunch of soup cans that we had, and I would use that for workouts just in our apartment. And I would do like squats with it, or just like do bicep curls or whatever with a backpack of soup, with a soup backpack. And I think the main point is you can figure it out. You can get it done. You can be creative, and you can make a lot of progress with very minimal equipment. I think everyone has a backpack and some cans of soup, so you don't even need resistance bands. In fact, you don't even need anything. You were mentioning bodyweight exercises earlier, and there are some incredibly challenging bodyweight exercises that I cannot do. And like you start getting into calisthenics and some really challenging movements, you can very quickly scale body weight movements up to incredibly challenging exercises. But there are also lots of really beginner friendly movements, like doing some air squats with just body weight or something like that. So yeah, again, you can check out the Thrive on Plants community. You just click on the classroom and we've got a beginner training plan there that you can check out. And that is a ton of other valuable stuff that you'll find in there as well. That's Daphne's community. So our last habit, kind of keeping in line with that, is surrounding yourself with supportive people. And being around people who care about healthy living can drastically improve your motivation and accountability. If you are working to lose weight and your friends ask you every single Friday night and Saturday night to go out with them to the bar and grab some drinks, and you say, well, Daphne told me that I shouldn't be consuming any alcohol, which is totally true, then that is not going to be a supportive environment for you to stay on track with your goals. And then you're out too late, you get hungover like Erin was mentioning earlier, you have a terrible next day and you don't have any motivation, so you just grab some potato chips and everything just starts cycling out of control.
Sounds too real.
And it can start with just making a few decisions that are not aligned with your goals, and that can spiral in a bad way. So surrounding yourself with supportive people, people who care about you, people who want the best for you, people who are going to ask you to do healthy activities with them, like going to the park or going for a run or going to the gym or going to play golf or pickleball or whatever. People who want to go out and have some salads with you or whatever, or just genuinely support you along your path, even if they're not making the same decisions themselves in their health journey. They fully support you and they don't give you a hard time for not going out with them or being the weirdo who just packs her own lunch or whatever. Been there. I know how that feels, and it doesn't feel great to be surrounded by people who don't support you. So make sure that you have people around you who genuinely care about you, and work to build that support system within your friend group and your family. And we don't choose our family, so I understand that that's not always easy, but you can still actively decide who you are going to be spending more time with versus less time with, or you can do your best to head in that direction. Do either of you have some kind of thoughts that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I have two thoughts. One is, I have two thoughts. I think the first part on family, I think to help in that area, just sharing what you're doing. I think a lot of times, you go over to grandma's house and she's made you this huge meal. And if you just say, oh, actually, I'm not going to eat that, she feels like you do not love her or you think she's a bad cook. Versus maybe you call her ahead of time, or whoever's place you're going to for dinner, just sharing what you're doing so that they can try to understand and support you in that way, without just saying, oh, I'm not going to eat the food you made me, or I don't want to hang out with you. Just giving them a little bit more context can help them understand where you're coming from, and just make it more likely that they can support you on your goals. And grandma might be upset that she can't make you that birthday cake every Sunday, but just
it's a lot of birthdays.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. Grandmas, they love cake. So just sharing with them. And then also, on the other hand, for meeting more people, workout classes or run clubs, especially if you are new to the gym or you're nervous about going to a gym for the first time, going to a class can sometimes help a little bit with those nerves. You know, they have the weightlifting classes at some gyms or Zumba, which is very fun. Like just going and being around other people who are also working on health and fitness goals can be a great way to meet people if your current friend group and community is just not interested. You can still do other things with them, but finding new people to share those new healthy habits with.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be new people either. Having the conversation, I think, as you mentioned, is really important. So if your best friend Susan asks you to go out to the restaurant and have the nachos like you do every Sunday and have been doing for a while, say, hey, Susan, I actually am really working to improve my health and I would love to go to a different restaurant. Would that work for you? I found this new plant-based place in the city and I'd love to go grab a meal with you there. Or, hey, I'd love to just get together at home and play some board games and you can bring your own food, I'll bring my own food, and then we can still enjoy each other's company and have fun. But you are changing the environment, you're changing kind of these social cues to more align with your health and fitness goals. So this isn't necessarily about cutting people out of your life or no longer spending time with people. It's about working to change the situation that you typically find yourself in with these people. And when I do think that maybe considering lessening your amount of time with certain people is justified is if you say, hey, Susan, I'd really love to make some healthier choices and I'm trying to improve my health. And they say, okay, that's dumb or whatever. Or they put you down in any way. Okay, then get some new friends. But otherwise, you can still make positive changes with the same people. It really comes down to communicating. And like Erin said, trying to do that ahead of time and not get yourself stuck in a situation that doesn't align with your health goals and just continues pushing you back in a path that doesn't serve you. And one of the best ways, James Clear talks about this in his book Atomic Habits, but one of the best ways of changing behavior is by changing your environment. So if I go to the bar every Friday night with my friends and I always drink, even when I tell myself I'm not going to, well, maybe you just need to change your environment. So don't go to a bar if you think that is going to lessen your ability to make healthy choices. So, Daphne, what are your thoughts?
I agree. And I think it applies to your work family too. If you think about how much time you spend at work, your work family can be as important as the family that you were born into. And you need to be comfortable having those conversations. So whether I remember in a former position I had when I was with clients a lot and we were going out to dinner or we were having lunches, I had to set boundaries around what I was and was not comfortable doing. And they learned to respect those boundaries because I just made it clear, yeah, we can go to this restaurant, but I'm not going to drink. I will eat plant-based meal. And over time, it just became who I am and they didn't question it anymore. But your work family is really important. And you also can model behavior for them because it'll be surprising who might be interested in finding new health behaviors. And they just need that example or that push to say, I can do this too.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's really important. Just surrounding yourself, whether it's at work or at home or your friend group, doing your best to create an environment where you can make the best choices that align with your health and fitness goals. That's the ideal outcome, and that's what you should work to achieve. And I have become very comfortable with I I sometimes, depending on the situation, will even make a little bit of a joke about it and be like, yeah, I'm kind of that weirdo. I just bring my own food everywhere. And you can just kind of like play it off and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a little weird, but all right, let's continue. And that's that. You just kind of break the ice and okay, yeah, like I do things differently than most other people, and that's just how I am. So let's focus on these other things that we're doing together, and we don't need to talk about food because I don't really agree with what you're doing, and you're not going to agree with what I'm doing, and that's okay as well. We can have those. We don't need to. You don't necessarily need to see eye to eye with people who you spend time with, but you do deserve their respect. And if someone is belittling you or not respecting your health choices, that needs to become a more serious conversation. But thankfully, at least in my experience, that is very rare. So usually people will be understanding, or at least just kind of say, oh, okay, well, whatever. Yeah, Leif's a little weird, but yeah, he brings his own meals everywhere, and that's just how he is. So yeah, I'd love to hear, Erin, you've been involved in our vegan superhero community for a few years now. How's that impacted your progress? How's that impacted how you kind of surround yourself, and how's that impacted some of your health and fitness choices?
Yeah, well, you mentioned that I joined during COVID, which was a very isolating time in my life. I had just moved to a new city, so I didn't know any real people in person, and joining the Vegan Superhero Academy, it was like all of a sudden I had all these internet friends, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Plus they're all vegan, so I don't need to fight with them about eating animals, and they're also all trying to become better people. And I've been in the community for over 4.5 years now, and I would consider a lot of people in that group to be my best friends. And I've definitely shifted my people I spend the most time with to a lot of it being people just from VSA, joining the weekly team calls and hearing from other people, whether they're sharing challenges that I can relate to, so that I know, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who deals with this. Or hearing or reading their posts about their wins always is a really great way to just brighten my day. If I'm having a bad day, okay, I'm going to jump into the Facebook group. Oh, this person hit a PR, or this person just shared a photo of their dog doing some, jumping around in the snow. So I think when I first really started getting serious about my health and fitness goals, I didn't have any friends who were on similar journeys, which I can remember being the person going to the bar late at night, and I was doing a fitness challenge, and I think I drank water until like 1 a.m, and I was amazed with myself that I was able to do it. But I was like, I don't want to be doing this every weekend. I would much rather like hang out with some people, play some board games, go to bed early, wake up, go for a run with someone. That's just, you kind of realize over time as you pick up these new habits that, oh, it'd be really nice to spend time with people who also were doing the same thing. And through VSA, even though most of the people I only see them online, just hearing their stories and being part of their journeys just really makes you realize that you're not the only person trying to make these choices.
What has your experience been in both the Vegan Superhero Academy and now the Vegan Women's Circle in, just being able to connect with other women?
I think all the points that Erin mentioned are key. Even though it's virtual, the connection is amazing because, one, you start to feel like there are other people like me out there who have similar challenges, have similar goals, who I can learn with and from. And that's been one of the great things for me is, even though I'm a coach, I always learn from the women I work with because they push me to be better myself and to learn more so that I can better serve them. Because from a coach's perspective, I think of these communities as service. How do we serve to bring women together so that they can collectively be as strong as possible and individually be stronger than they were as a single unit. And, that's the beauty of what a really healthy, tight-knit community like Thrive on Plants, like the Vegan Women's Circle, like VSA can become.
Yeah. Yeah. And now the people that I spend all my time with people from work or our community, and that has become just a really positive part of my life as well. And yeah, it's amazing how much better you feel generally when you're surrounded by like-minded people who care about the same things that you care about and are going to be there to support you with all of your wins and all of your struggles and everything in between. And yeah, it means a lot to have the right people in your corner. So let's wrap up with some common questions to both of you that we often hear from women related to our conversation today about weight loss. So we've kind of already touched on this, but the first one would be, how can I enjoy social events without sabotaging my weight loss goals?
Yeah, I think just going back to what we spoke about on communication and, sharing with your friends, if, you're going to a book club night and everyone's supposed to bring something to contribute food wise, telling them ahead of time, oh, this is great. I'm working on these goals. And also there, like we said earlier, there's tons of delicious recipes that are also friendly to your health and fitness goals. There's so many recipes online that you can bring, buffalo tofu bites and just many things where you can bring something that's really tasty. You don't have to just, bring carrots. I love carrots, but just bring carrot sticks to book club. There's tons of really healthy, fun snacks that you can bring to participate in an event like that. And also, just changing what the social event is. Does it need to be going out to a bar or going out for ice cream every Sunday afternoon? Just changing what the social event is. And if it's still, going to be dinner at someone's house, don't deprive yourself from going entirely because you're nervous about the food situation and how it will affect your goals, because then you're just going to resent your health and fitness goals because you think, oh, I have to just sit at home by myself all day. That's not going to help either. So I think just surrounding yourself with people who can support you, sharing your journey with them, and, practice makes perfect. You might go out, you're not going to get it right every time. Maybe you eat too many tortilla chips, but just keeping that in mind and just knowing that, I can still go out, spend time with people I love, but it doesn't need to push me away from my goals.
Very well said.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I would say one other thing that I would add to that would be, I don't think you touched on this, but eating beforehand and making sure that you're making the right nutritional choices beforehand. Similar to starting a meal with your salad, you are having kind of a pre-meal that is setting you up for success. So I'm not going to go to the party and the vegan option there is tortilla chips, and I'm just going to stuff my face with tortilla chips because I didn't eat anything beforehand. So whenever I'm going to any kind of event, any kind of social event, I will generally, this is especially true if I'm focusing on weight loss, I will eat beforehand or I will bring my own food to the event, and I will just have my Pyrex container and be eating food outside of that, but still being able to interact and be social and have that time. Because like Erin said, if you tell yourself, oh, well, I can't do anything fun anymore because now I'm like a healthy person, then you are not going to be inclined to maintain an identity of a healthy person if that just inherently comes with depriving yourself of things that you enjoy. So it's important to keep in mind. And there are tons of, Erin mentioned carrots. I absolutely love carrots as well. There are a lot of, typically at any kind of social gathering, there's often some kind of veggies, or at least I guess I'm thinking parties, like party platters with veggies. You got whatever, cauliflower, broccoli, carrots, cucumbers, etc. There are tons of different options that you can also snack on as well. And those do make really good snacks. I was actually just talking about this with someone last week. If you love sitting in front of the TV and just eating things, that is totally fine. Just swap the tortilla chips with some carrot sticks or with some cucumbers. And that doesn't mean you can't have some tortilla chips as well, but that's not the thing that you are mindlessly eating. Swap that out with something that is so low calories that you actually can kind of just mindlessly chomp on it. So, and again, it's okay to, some people will tell you can't sit in front of the TV and eat food because you're not connected with your food. And there is some element of truth to that, but that if you enjoy doing that, that's totally fine. Just find a structure that works with you. If you enjoy going out to the bar, that's totally fine. Find a structure that works for you. If you enjoy going out and doing social activities all the time over the weekend or every evening or whatever, that's totally fine. Find a structure with your health and fitness routines that works for you. All right, next question. Can I eat carbs and still lose weight?
Absolutely. Carbs are not the enemy. And I know a lot of women think, oh, I just need to cut back carbs or I need to go keto. As vegans, we eat carbs because we eat vegetables. So choose whole food carbs. Don't choose highly processed foods if you're eating your carbs. Think about your fruit, your legumes, your whole grains. Those are the things that you can focus on, and they are very healthful, and they'll help you meet your fat loss goals. But make sure you pair them with your protein, pair them with those extra vegetables. If you like healthy fats, if you like avocado, if you need that mouthfeel, crumble some nuts, some slivered almonds on top, but you can eat carbs and meet your fat loss goals.
All right, last question, and I'll throw this over to you first, Daphne, and Erin, you can jump in if you have any thoughts. What role does stress play in weight gain, and how do I manage it?
Stress plays a significant role in weight gain and weight maintenance. So first of all, we will never live a life with no stress. But what you need to learn is how to manage stress, because chronic stress will elevate your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a hormone that we all need. You just don't want to elevate it all the time, because that will predispose you to potentially more abdominal fat. It may predispose you to, if you're overly stressed, you're probably not sleeping. It may predispose you to, there's actually something called cortisol steal that, especially for women, when you're overstressed, because cortisol is on the pathway to making your female hormones, you may actually impact your progesterone and estrogen because you're directing all of these other precursors to form your cortisol. So you need to find ways to manage stress, whether it's mindful breathing, whether it's meditation, whether it's, a whole host of things. Walking is a great way to manage stress, something that you love and do, but stress will not allow you to meet your health and fitness goals if you don't manage it, because cortisol is a very powerful hormone and it can undo a lot of the good things that you're trying to do from a nutrition and movement perspective.
Thank you, Daphne. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that with stress, a lot of times you can have a very long day at work, you're stressed out, maybe you're anxious, and that can be a time when a lot of people will go to the pantry, they'll find whatever snack is their favorite thing to eat. So I think just a tip for combating that is trying to control your home environment as much as possible. I know some people have large families that they also need to purchase food for, but me personally, I know that, okay, I don't really want to be eating tortilla chips right now, so I'm just not going to bring them home from the store. I love Oreos. They are vegan. I would love to eat Oreos every day, but I know that they're not going to help me with my goals right now. So I don't buy them at the store because I know that if they're in the pantry and I've had a really long, stressful day, it's going to be a lot harder for me to say no to the food noise and the Oreos when I've had a long day.
Stress, food cravings, emotional eating, they are all tied together. Yeah.
Yeah, I call that the law of grocery carts. So whatever goes in your grocery cart is going to get eaten, or at least it's going to tempt you every single day when you look in the pantry or fridge. So yeah, as Erin pointed out, we can't always control the decisions that the food decisions that other people in our household make. But if you do have the ability to decide what foods are going in your grocery cart and which ones are not, you would be best served by aligning what goes in your grocery cart with your health goals and not saying, okay, well, I'm going to grab the Oreos, but I'm not going to eat them when they are in my pantry. Because, yeah, I think I have worked to build a lot of willpower and discipline, but even for me, that's challenging. Like tortilla chips, that's literally my kryptonite. You get the right tortilla chips and I need to not know that they exist in the household for me to avoid eating those. All right. So those are the questions that I want to finish up with. And yeah, I'd love to just ask you, Daphne, what are some of the key takeaways from our conversation that you'd really like to leave our audience with?
We've covered a lot today, and so I want to thank you both for joining me on Thrive on Plants. There are so many pearls. I think the first one is focus on sustainable habits. I mean, consistency and sustainability are key. We don't want anyone adopting things that they do for a day, a week, a month. This is really a lifestyle. So if you're thinking about your nutrition, your protein-focused meals, thinking about your time-restricted eating, making sure you're prioritizing your veggies to help carve those hunger cues, getting your water, making sure you're hydrated, because hydration is very important for your fat loss goals. These are all habits that you can adopt and sustain, and they're completely aligned with your goals. One thing we forgot to mention is that being vegan doesn't mean everything's healthy. So there are a lot of vegan foods out there now that probably shouldn't make it into your grocery cart. So be mindful that whole foods are really going to be the best option. And it's the 80-20 rule. 80% healthfully, mindfully, 20% those foods that you love. We talked a lot about how to boost your satiety and your energy. And hydration, again, going back to being hydrated, making sure you're getting your fruit and your vegetables and getting the protein, that's going to add to your energy. It's going to make sure you're hydrated. Stress and sleep are also probably should be at the top of the mountain, because if you're underslept and overstressed, you're not going to be able to meet your health goals. So find ways to manage stress and find a wind down routine that will help support the sleep that you need for recovery and your brain health. So finally, and most importantly, find your tribe. You want to join a supportive network of like-minded women who can help celebrate your successes, help lift you up when you have challenges, and who can empower you to know that you're not alone and you're going to get through whatever you're navigating today. So if you would like to join a community of like-minded women just like yourself who have amazing health goals, who can help lift you up when you are encountering challenges, and who are there to celebrate your wins with you, I would encourage you to join our Thrive on Plants community. You can do so at thriveonplantslife.com. This is where you want to go to learn how to thrive on plants and live with purpose. And I look forward to seeing you there. The content provided in this podcast is intended solely for informational and educational purposes. It's not designed to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While I'm a doctor, I'm not your doctor. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health, medical conditions, or treatments. Our goal is to provide accurate and up-to-date information. The discussions and views shared on this podcast reflect the opinions of the host and guest, and they may not align with your unique health needs. Decisions related to your health and wellness should be made in consultation with your healthcare team because they understand your specific circumstances. Thanks for joining us on this journey to thrive on plants, and I hope you enjoy the future episodes.